Welcome to another summer, another epic summer vacation. My name is Tina. Follow along for more. Today's travel day started at 4 a.m. I went up this hill for the last time, this steep, awful hill, and I ended up getting the train straight into the airport. So I was there a little bit early. There was practically nobody at security and customs, so I was there an hour, maybe an hour and a half early. I ended up getting McDonald's while I was waiting, and then we finally boarded the flight. This is a 10-hour flight from Sydney to Seoul, and it felt every bit of the 10 hours that it was. It was raining when we were about to take off, and then this plane had cameras on the bottom, so I was able to see the takeoff even though I was sitting in an aisle seat, which is pretty awesome. There were 2 meals that they served. I got the Korean option both times. They were amazing meals. And then I ended up just watching movies as much as I could. But like I said, I really felt every bit of the 10 hours. By the time I got to Seoul, I was ready to get to my hotel. So I got the express train into town, and then I took the subway to the hotel. Did I make a fool of myself twice within the first 2 hours of landing in South Korea? Yes, yes, I did. So before I flew to South Korea, I watched a video all about how to navigate the public transportation system and how to get from the airport into the city center. And so I felt confident that I was going to be able to navigate the system pretty well. I did not follow the directions, though, that the video gave me, and so I think that's probably where I messed up. So the video told me to take the all stops train and then transfer to the subway station that I needed once I got into town. And I did not do that. I took the express train to Seoul Station, and I ended up having to get out of Seoul Station and transfer and buy a different ticket to ride the subway. But when I got the express train ticket, I didn't look at the ticket to see if there was a seat assignment, if there was numbered cars, if there was a specific place that I was supposed to be. I just went down the escalator and I got on the train, and there was nobody in this car that I got on, and so I just picked a seat and I sat there, which was fine until I got to the first or the next terminal within the airport, and a bunch of people got on, and all of a sudden I am in somebody's seat. And so that was the moment that I realized that these were assigned seats and I was in the wrong spot, and I didn't even know what car I was in, so I didn't know how to get to the car that I was assigned to. And so anyway, I get up as quick as I can, and I grab my book bag and I grab my rolling suitcase and I move to the other end of the car, and I wait there for a minute. And an official looking woman comes by, and I show her my ticket, and I'm like, I'm not sure where this is. And she quickly walks me to the next car and points me to an empty seat. And so that was fine. I was mildly embarrassed, but it was fine. Okay, so we get to Seoul Station, and I scan out and I go to the machine to buy my single ride ticket to the subway station that is closest to my hotel. And honestly, that process was pretty smooth. I knew exactly what I was doing because I'd watched the video. I scanned into the subway. I followed all of the signs of where to go, and I made it to the platform that my train was on, and I got on the train, no problems. I got off the train, no problems. The problem came when I was trying to scan out of the subway. There was a turnstile, and the turnstile was extremely small, and I probably used the wrong turnstile because I had luggage. So that's my bad. But as I was like turning the turnstile and trying to push my luggage through, one leg went through the turnstile and my other leg was caught on the wrong side of the turnstile. So at this point, I'm like trying to bunny hop my way over the turnstile, and my book bag is on my back and it's top heavy. So the minute that I lean over, I fall, and it's almost like in slow motion. I fall to the ground with all these people around watching. And so I'm mortified. So I get up as quick as I can, and I'm like, I'm fine. And I put my card into the deposit machine to get a little bit of money back, and I get out of the station as quick as I can. And then Google Maps decides that it does not have walking directions, cannot tell me how to get from the station to my hotel by walking. It wants me to get back onto the subway. And I'm like, no way. I've literally been through 2 mortifying incidents in the last hour. There's no way that I'm doing anything else. Like, I'm just going to walk to the hotel. And thankfully, I was able to look at the map and I was able to, it was almost a straight shot to get to the hotel. And, but honestly, like, why? Why? Well, anyway, that's my experience the first 2 hours in South Korea. My first full day in Seoul was sort of like a rest day. I had breakfast at the hotel and then I did some work in my current room until I had to check out and move to a new room. Because this portion of my trip is with EF, I do have a roommate. And while I waited for her to arrive, I ended up doing some laundry down in the basement. And this was the perfect time for me to catch up on my journaling from the Sydney portion of my trip. So that worked out. And then I got Burger King. I ended up getting an avocado burger, which was good, but a little bit spicy. And then I worked on editing a YouTube video for the Sydney portion of my trip. And that was it. On the second full day of the trip, I got breakfast at the hotel again. And then I filled up my water bottle for the day. And then I headed up onto the rooftop deck, which had great views of the entire city. It was almost 360. And then our tour group ended up getting on a bus. We headed over to the main square that has the main palace near it. And so we walked pretty much all the way down this square straight to the palace. And I wasn't really sure what to expect going to this palace, but it was very large, pretty big complex, and we had an opportunity to sort of look around just inside the first gate. There was the changing of the guard, which we are about to watch. After the changing of the guard, we went inside the rest of the gates and we got to see inside the different areas that the king would have stayed. And like I said, it was a very large complex, and so we walked around for quite a while, and it was just really interesting to see everything and to learn all the things that I don't know. And after that, we ended up going to a cooking class, and we made bulgogi and a seafood pancake. Our pancake skills, not super great, but we had a really good time, and we enjoyed the food that we ate after we made the food. So that was a really good experience, and I'm glad that I did that. And then we had our welcome dinner. So we had a 12-course Korean style dinner, and day 3 was a slower day. So we ended up going down to this stream that was next to our hotel. It was really nice, and then I stopped at Starbucks for a milk tea. We also went to the Ixion village, which was right next to our hotel, and then we went to Insadong, and we did some shopping, and we did some eating, and I ended up having noodles, so of course, and then my roommate got a Zodiac thing, and then we saw this performance before we headed out. We ended up going to Bukchon village, and we got to walk around there, and we were told that we needed to be quiet because the village was still being used as a neighborhood, so people are still living in these homes. We ended up going to an observatory and sort of overlooking this village, which was really neat. We didn't have a ton of time, and we could have used more. And then we made our way over to the dance class. It was a K-pop dance class, and that was really fun. After the dance class, we went to the Lotte Tower, to the observatory. And so we went up to the 117th floor to see everything. One of the displays that they had was lifting this curtain to sort of show off the Han River. It was a little disappointing because the entire area is completely covered in smog, and so it's really hard to see into the distance. But after that, we ended up going to dinner, and it was buffet style. So it was pretty much any kind of westernized food that you could want. And then this was our busboy. And this was a very novel item for us. We really enjoyed pressing our button to call over our busboy and then putting our dishes in the bins and sending it away. And it was just really, really neat. And it was a good way to end the evening. On day 4, we actually left Busan and went back to Seoul because that was where people were leaving from. I got my last Korean coffee, and then we made our way to the train station. We rode the KTX to Seoul from Busan. It was a pretty smooth ride, and I got some journaling done, which was good. I'm not totally caught up, but I'm close. And then we got on a new bus, which was not as nice as the original bus, but it took us to the Hyundai Seoul Mall, which was chaotic. We also did a Han River cruise. And then we had our farewell dinner, which was Korean barbecue, which was probably one of the best meals we've had on this trip as a group. I've liked everything, but there's only so much rice a person can eat before they're just sick and tired of rice. But this meal was really good. Even though there was rice, it was really good. And we all had a really good time just spending the last moments together. My roommate and another girl and I even went to a cat cafe after dinner. And we walked around Myeongdong before taking the subway back to the hotel. My last full day in Seoul, I had to do laundry again. And then I went to get some lunch. So I was in Insadong still, and I got Burger King again. I ended up taking the subway to Itaewon and just walked around to see the area because I hadn't been there yet. I also went to this shopping mall, which was not a very good shopping mall. There was nothing there basically. But then I went to the Hyundai Seoul mall from the previous day, and it was closed, so I went and got boba instead. And then I went to the mall that was across the street, and I ended up getting Shake Shack for dinner, which was amazing. And then I took the airport train to the airport, and I waited around for my flight, which was a late night flight. In Seoul, we stayed at the Ibis Ambassador in Sedong. And this was my single room that I stayed one night in, but the double room was very similar, if not exactly the same. The bed was just different. But anyway, this is the bathroom. It's kind of small and cute. The TV, didn't use it though. There is a closet. There are plenty of shelves and a safe. They also gave 2 complimentary bottles of water. And then there's this very large desk and bench space, which was really nice to use. And then there is a window, it opened, and then you could also pull down the screen. So if you wanted to leave the window open and not have bugs get in, you could do that. I ended up leaving the window open when I left just to let air circulate, but overall, a really good room. In closing, I loved every minute that I spent in Seoul. It was such a fun city to explore for the first time, especially since I originally had no intention of even going to South Korea this summer. It just sort of happened. I was planning to go to France and do a castles, croissants, and coasts kind of trip, and unfortunately that one fell through. Well, I guess it's fortunate for me. It fell through, and this was the only other trip that worked with the dates that I was gonna have available. And also, just as a side note, at the beginning of the video I mentioned that Google Maps was giving me a really hard time, and it turns out that Google Maps does in fact not work in South Korea. So if you're going to use navigation, I would recommend Naver Maps. My only gripe and concern with Naver Maps is that it is not tourist friendly. So everything is in Korean, and I don't have a good grasp of the language. So if I'm looking up reviews or if I'm trying to find an address, like I don't know what I'm looking for. And so that's something that I would end up having to go back to Google Maps, and I could find with Google, but it would not give directions, walking directions, or even writing directions to the places that I wanted to go to using Google Maps. So anyway, there's that tidbit.